Hey everybody, my name is Anthony, and in today's video I'm going to be bringing you my track guide here at Hungary. Now, Hungary is probably one of my weaker tracks. I'm not very good at this track, but I feel as if I can be competent enough at this track to be able to give you a proper track guide. So if you like this type of video and you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the like button and stick around by subscribing to the channel. So let's get straight into it. So we're here now coming up to the final corner, which is pretty much sort of longer hairpin. So coming into it, you want to be in 5th gear and you want to brake pretty much just after this little box here where this guy's standing in, just in between that and the black box. Brake down and shift down into 4th gear, and then you probably want to come out wide when you're starting a lap, but I mean usually you would just stick towards the inside, get the power down as quickly as possible. You'd open up DRS and then you start the lap. So this is pretty much the longest straight on the track, I believe. And then coming up to the first corner now, you want to brake just in between the 100 meter board and the 50 meter board, maybe around about the 85 to 75 meter mark, which is around about here. Say around about here you want to start braking. Brake in a complete straight line, definitely want to brake a complete straight line here. And then as you start to get to the corner, that's when you sort of want to turn in. You want to get a late apex here, shift down into 2nd and then back up to 3rd just to get the extra traction coming out of the corner. You don't want to touch the outside curb or else it will unsettle the car. And you want to come up here, 2nd corner. I usually brake just after the 50 meter board, so I'm riding here, 50 meter board, then I brake. Brake in a straight line at first and then sort of turn into the corner, shift down to 2nd gear, sort of hug this corner, get the power down as soon as you can, shift up to 3rd gear and then short shift up to 4th gear. You can use a little bit of the exit there. And then coming up to this corner, it's a blind left-hander, but what I like to do just to help me memorize where the corner is what I will come up to the corner, come up to this curb, I'll touch this curb, and then as soon as I pass this black box, I basically shift down into 6th gear and just throw the car into the corner and basically just hope that I don't cut the corner. It's blind, so it's one of those ones you're just going to have to hope and pray. Try not to go too wide on the exit, come back to the left hand side, and then just before this black box I like to start braking and slowing down the car in 7th gear, shift down into 5th gear. You can use 4th if needed. And then you're going to want to put the power down as soon as possible. Come out a little bit wide. You don't want to... let me reverse here so I can show you guys. So you want to come out a little bit wide here. In the race you probably wouldn't come out wide here, but in qualifying you definitely want to come out wide there. And then you brake pretty much where that curb starts. Down into 3rd gear. Try and hug these two curbs here. Get the power down as soon as possible and then go wide. Then at the black box, brake from 5th to 4th and then basically just hug these corners in 4th gear. For this corner especially, you want to sort of just feather the throttle a little bit whilst going through the corner. It is one of those corners where if you go too slow, you're going to lose a lot of time, but if you go too quickly, you're going to end up just going wide and invalidating your lap. Try and go a little bit wide here on exit. You want to be sort of towards this AstroTurf sort of side here, and then you want to swing the car around completely flat out for this corner. And then for this corner, when the curb starts, sort of just lift off the throttle a little bit, try and get the car to be on the inside curb there, and then get the power down back on the outside of the curb. And then coming up to this corner now, pretty much 75 meters to maybe 65 meters, so around about here you want to start braking in a completely straight line. And then once you get towards the corner, hug that curb in 3rd gear and then try to go out wide. And then pretty much just in front of this black box here, so you can use the shadow if the time of day is right, but I wouldn't recommend using shadows as braking points. So use the black box just before you pass the black box. You start shifting down from 6th gear I believe to 3rd, hug the inside curb here, but try not to touch it or else you will spin out. Try and get the power down. It is a little bit oversteery here, so you want to be careful when getting the power down. Maybe short shift up to 4th gear just to help the wheels not get as much wheel spin. And then once again for the final corner, just in between the little box that this guy is standing in and the black box, you want to shift down into 4th from 5th. And this time you definitely want to hug the inside, get the power down as quickly as possible, open up DRS, and there you go. That is a lap of Hungary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the lap now that you guys see in the title, and then we're going to get into the setup portion of this video. So I'll see you guys at the setup. Okay guys, so here we are now at the setup portion. I'm not going to keep you guys for too long, so let's just get straight into it. Aerodynamics is 711. My recommendations here, you can maybe go 710 or even 610. I'd rather you go with a higher front wing because it is a tight track, so you're going to have as much downforce as possible. So I usually go 711, and for the transmission, we're going with a default 50-65. 50. Pretty much you want to try and minimize wheel spin as much as possible, especially through slow speed corners, and this will help that through the setup. And then 65 for the auto throttle, again, is just a default really for me, but it does help keep the car stable whilst you're sort of throwing the car around the track. And then for the suspension geometry, -2.6 and -1. Pretty much you want a really high camber and a really low toe for this track. You still want to have a little bit of straight line speed whilst also having a very responsive car. For the suspensions, 2.6 on the suspension is quite soft, but it's still on the stiffer side. For the rear suspension, you want to keep the rear as sort of stable as possible. That's why I've also gone with a sort of higher anti-roll bar as usual as well. And then for the ride height, 2.4, you can go 3.5 or even 3.6. Personally, I just do 2.4. It's completely up to you. This is just a baseline setup, so I'd suggest trying it out, seeing how you feel, and maybe tweaking what you want to tweak. For the brakes, I've gone with 100% on the brake pressure, 52 on the front brake bias. Usually these days I'm actually going with a lower brake pressure and a higher front brake bias, but this track, you still do some straight line braking, but not as much as you think you would. So that's why I've sort of gone with more brake pressure and less front brake bias. You could even do 95-50 if you really want to focus on the corners where you're not going to be doing straight line braking. I personally do this just to sort of accommodate for the straight line braking that you will be doing around the track. And then for the tires, you want to go 22.2 on the front for me and 19.9 on the rears. The only suggestions I really have is to maybe make the front left a little bit softer. This track is a clockwise track, so most of the weight of the car whilst turning, especially when you're throwing the car around, will be put towards the left hand side of the car. So you want to have the left hand tires be as soft as possible so that they can sort of absorb that weight. So that's the only real suggestion I have for the tire section here. So I'm going to finish off the video here. If you liked this type of video and you're new to the channel, as I said in the beginning, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 650 subscribers, so it'll be pretty awesome to hit that as soon as possible. The channel has been gaining quite a lot of support recently, so thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. I'll see you guys in my next video.